VAR, Vague and Absurd Refereeing. Guys, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the Arsenal versus Brentford match where we obviously drew 1-1 to Brentford. Of course, we'll talk about that performance, but you know, the main topic, what that will be today. And we'll talk about all the other events across the Premier League as well in this match reaction show. It was an impromptu stream, I'm going to be honest, so it's going to be off the fly a little bit. There's no real structure to it, but I just felt like I had to do it. But before we do that, let's get through the intro. Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm not. I'm still angry, and I say I'm still angry. When I went to bed, before I went to bed last night, I kind of came into terms with Arsenal drawing 1-1 to Brentford in a game that, you know, I thought overall was a well-fought match. And if anyone did watch the full 90 minutes, of course, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're going to feel disappointed. If you're a non-Arsenal fan, a lot of you who will, you know, don't want to see Arsenal win the league, you'll be happy and delighted, of course. But if you're a, you know, Premier League fan, it was a very well-fought game with two well-matched sides who had a good go at it. At first, I was disappointed, and I kind of felt Arsenal, we weren't great and whatnot. Yeah, like we weren't great, we weren't our scintillating best, but we still performed at a very high level, and it was much better than the Everton game. I can say that for sure. But where he has the attention, you know, it's got to turn to, as it always does in the Premier League and nowadays, to the referees. Guys, if you're a long-time subscriber of this channel, you know that I kind of don't really like to blame referees a lot, especially in the aftermath. When we look back at a game, when we react to it, yes, we can talk about certain decisions and certain elements, but I don't like to put too much emphasis and focus right there. But I'm sorry, people, enough is enough. I'm sure you've all heard the news right now with Lee Mason in the VAR room. Lee Mason, another shocking referee, and I don't like doing it. I really don't like talking about referees and what I'm doing here and calling out individuals for their mistakes, but I have to in this sense, because it is not the first time with Lee Mason. It's been over and over again, and we're not seeing any positive change with the officiating of our game in the Premier League, the best league in the world for sure, in terms of competitiveness, viewing figures. If you're looking at it from a football fan perspective or from an even business or financial point of view, you know this is the best league in the world with the best players, the best coaches. Keylor Navas, for goodness sakes, a Champions League winner multiple times. He's won it. He's playing for Nottingham Forest. You've got Unai Emery, a European champion multiple times, once again, one of the most highly regarded managers in Europe, managing Aston Villa. You've got a former Real Madrid and a former Spain national team coach managing and deciding to take the job over at Wolves. And there's internationals galore across the whole league. And we have the worst officials out there. And once again, if you do know me, you know that I don't usually come with this type of energy to a show or towards referees, because I've spoken many a time. I've seen poor refereeing in French league, in Ligue 1, in Serie A, in Bundesliga. If you watch many games across the Champions League, you see horrific officiating there. And this is about officiating overall, although the title, as you can see, VAR, is in there. I've been a defender of VAR in it being introduced. It was called for. It was needed to progress our beautiful game and to develop and get with the modern times. You know, a lot of comparisons before VAR came in was brought to rugby. Rugby has technology. Look how good they use it, and look how efficient that sport is able to use it. In basketball, we see things, you know, under the microscope, probably too much. It has its own you know, debates in there, but it's nowhere near as much spoken about as VAR is in our game, and especially in our league. It is ridiculous what we're seeing. And this is not just in terms of Arsenal, it's in terms of overall with the decisions that aren't even subjective in my eyes. And by that, there's certain decisions that are, you know, you don't need a video assistant referee to even tell you these things, or if you are going to have it, make sure you use it to the best of your ability. And there's so much incompetence throughout the officials within the Premier League and within the English game. I wanted to be, I wanted to be. I was always contemplating about being a referee at one point, because I've always wanted to have a job within the sport. You know what I'm saying? But you can see why there isn't many out there who want to do that job, because there's no clarity. That's where the vague comes into it. But it also seems like there's a lot of jobs for the boys in certain aspects. I know this is quite sounding a bit, inconspicuous and talking about conspiracies and things that we're not totally sure about. But we have to bring these things into question a lot of the time. Big up each and every one of you that's locked into the place right now. I'm sorry if it is a bit up and down or all over the place, but yeah, this was an impromptu stream, and this is me letting out my feelings towards it and trying to measure it in a way. As I said, before I went to bed, I came to terms with that draw and thought, let's move on. When I was watching the game, I saw the decision. I thought they must have had a look into it. They've just not shown the lines on our TV. They must have seen that he's onside. I thought the Ethan Pinnock one, that's subjective. And big up Harry, because I was listening to Harry's show earlier at the Chronicles of a Gooner, and he was talking about, I can accept that. And I totally agree. I can accept that Ethan Pinnock, although I think it's offside, although I do believe it is, because the blockers are offside and they are active. And if you do block someone and you're in an offside position, you are deemed as offside. But it wasn't seen totally that he was interfering with play, because it's not clear and obvious that he was preventing Gabriel from getting to the ball, although I think he was. But I can accept that, guys. I can. You've seen me on my channel last season. I always talk about the Ben Godfrey Tomiyasu incident, where everybody in the chat, Arsenal, non-Arsenal fans, were there saying that's a red card. And I'm like, yeah, I hear that, but I don't think it is. And the referee, I'm not here to blame quickly. When the Arsenal-Man United game, and once again, who was the VAR in that match earlier in the season, which was Lee Mason? I didn't think that was a foul. I was quite adamant when I was watching it live, and I still don't think that was a foul then. And then guess what happened later on, post-World Cup? I decided to kind of move on from it. But then Howard Webb, who comes in charge, and he's coming in here and to make this change and to really try and sort this out, which I understand it's going to take a while. So I'm, in that sense, at Howard Webb, I'm a little bit easier on him. But this is an issue that has been plaguing our game, and an issue that is going to take so long, and the right people with the right attitude and the right mindset to take over and really put an end to it and clean sweep, just like how Arteta has done at Arsenal, and really uproot a lot of this corruption in a way. And it's not even necessarily corruption. I'm not saying that there's backhanders. There might be, more there's money. There's always corruption in the world, of course. So, but I'm saying in terms of this complacency, there's no pressure. There's nothing that's really being applied from above. They're getting a lot of pressure from the fans, of course, and when they go out on a daily basis, I'm sure they're facing it. But then they are. There's no. It's kind of crazy, because protection. They are getting protected in a way that is putting them out into more harm and to more danger and to more abuse and to more anger, because they're not being protected by, for one, you should know where the line is. The players are protected in terms of, if you're not at the ability to play in the Premier League, guess what? You won't be playing in the Premier League. That's simple. No matter who you are, no matter how great you talk, you will soon find your level and you won't come back. We've seen plenty of examples there, but we don't see this with referees. I wonder why, but yeah, as I said, I was just getting over it, and then this news broke out. And as you can see, I'm quite animated and I'm feeling it at the moment. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on that there. And then after that, we'll talk about the game and I'll hear your thoughts. And then also talk about all the other issues that we've had in the Premier League. I know we've got plenty of fans from different clubs, of course. And let me know your opinions in the chat as we'll get into it. But initially, as you can see, it's a bit all over the place. But guys, I've had enough. Enough is enough. Like, we speak about managers. A lot of the time we talk about them and say enough is enough. It's time to go in terms of ownership, managers, in terms of players even. But the referees, when they're making horrendous errors like this, and they're able to come back and keep doing it again, and it's affecting how we watched a beautiful match. Once again, I said Arsenal versus Brentford, high quality game. You won't see many well fought matches like that in the Premier League, between two top side. Brentford outstanding, 10 games unbeaten, deservedly so, and they deserved a point off of the basis of their performance. But we know in football, right? We know in football you don't always get what you deserve, and it's not necessarily from a referee standpoint. It's just in life. You know, Arsenal, if Arsenal win this game 1-0, I'm coming out of here, I'm saying, you know what? I'm happy, I'm delighted in terms of how we won that one. Leeds United today against Man United, I thought Leeds deserved at least a point, but Man United ran away because they had the quality in the final third, and they put that ball in the back of the net. Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho, whereas Leeds couldn't do it, couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, create the chances, pressed well, and you know what? They were good. I thought they were edging the better side if one team had to win. But no. That's not how football works. It's not how sport works. That's why we love this beautiful game. And fair play to Man United, and they deserved it in the end because they put the chances away. Brentford, they didn't put their chances away, and although they were guilted and they were probably and they had more of the better chances than we did, why should we? Why? You know, I'm not punishing Arsenal for Brentford not being able to put theirs away. Yeah, you know I'm saying if we battered Brent, if we had those chances and we drew 1-1, I'm sorry. Like, when I'm not going to be I'm going to be like, I'm pleased with the performance, but you know, we missed those chances on another day. Yeah, okay, that can happen. They can happen on another occasion, but I would be ultimately saying, why aren't we putting those chances to bed? What is it? Is it an issue? Of course, we look into those things, but yeah, but not too busy talking about these referees once again. And let's see what you're saying in the comments. But first, big up the birthday boy, my brother, my co-host on the Premier League preview show in Edmin. Happy birthday. I want all of you, each and every one of you that is watching right now, to do two things. Smash that like button if you haven't done so. But secondly, wish our brother and our wonderful co-host, who does a lot of work on the channel, and supported me and helping me with the Arsenal shows, helping me with the records and stats, the setups in terms, and helping the back behind the scenes in terms of helping the banners in the preview show and whatnot, and even just, you know, talking and supporting me as well to continue with this channel. So guys, big up, happy birthday to my brother Edmin right there. Run it into the chat for him, please. And he celebrated a good win for Wolves. And what a way for someone who shares the same birthday as him, in João Gomez, to score in his first Premier League game on his debut, with another horrendous decision, really, in that game also. But big up myself, big up my pro, Edmin. Don't get me started on VAR. Edmin, he's always shared his thoughts and opinions that he doesn't like it. He doesn't like VAR. I mean, him have gone back and forth, and I disagree. I agree with the VAR being brought into it, but it needs to. It's not the VAR isn't the problem. It's the officials behind it, and it's the people that are working, as you've just seen this weekend. Not just in the Arsenal game, not just here in that Crystal Palace Brighton match, two horrendous decisions there as well, which one of them the PGMOL had to apologize for. But yeah, what's that sorry going to do for Arsenal if Arsenal finish second and miss out by 1 or 2 points to Manchester City at the end of the season? Sorry, just ain't going to cut it. Is it really? But we'll see. Big up yourself, Peony. And he says incompetence or corruption. Either way, the PGMOL is ruining the game. And if they do not fire Lee Mason or send him down to the Vanarama division for a year, then the whole thing is pointless. Incompetence, that's certainly something that we can put a finger on and we can say that's a fact. Corruption, of course, we've got no evidence for that. But possibly, I'm not ruling anything out. Of course, what are we seeing right now with Manchester City getting charged when it was all blatantly obvious there was smoke, and there's no smoke without fire, people. And this is what it's looking like here. There needs to be a serious investigation throughout the whole PGMOL and the whole of the officiating and the people that run the officiating team and even the recruitment into it. Jared Gillett, he was the one that's come from Australia, and look at his level go down and drop below as well. Ridiculous. But yeah, I hear your thoughts there, Peony. I definitely do. Big up yourself, Shay. G Staffy in the building as well. We got Brad in here, says T, keeping me entertained up on my way to school. Love the work, bro. Really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Hope you're keeping well. Hanno from Coach's Corner. Luke is in here also. I hope you're doing good, and I will be watching the Super Bowl tonight. Indeed, Hanno. And Ed says here, I think VAR and the officials let down countless teams yesterday as they have since it came in. Pathetic. And they have let down countless teams yesterday. That's correct. And plenty more teams since it has come in as well. But let's not forget, bro. Let's not forget with, VAR. I'm not blaming the technology. The officials have, the whole reason this was brought in is because the incompetence from referees with simple, where it's black and white decisions such as offside, right? Let's get VAR in here. And do you know what? It's only caused more grey area. That's ridiculous. And that it shouldn't be like that. Did we have any grey area in the World Cup? Did we? And why the Premier League? Why did the Premier League feel fit to say, no, we don't need that. I don't want the AI. We don't need that. We'll know what we're doing. That arrogance, the arrogance from the Premier League to say, no, we don't want that technology. Initially, they weren't even the first ones to take VAR because they've got such arrogance. I keep repeating that arrogance, everything that they have in there, and you can see how referees officiate the game. I was watching Man City Villa. There wasn't really anything crazy in that. Rob Jones, you remember him from the Southampton game, Arsenal fans. I know you do. Well, where we played Southampton this season and drew 1-1. Another game where we dropped points, and surprise, surprise, we're talking about officials then and how horrendous those decisions were. And he was going, go away. I don't want to speak. No, it's not how you officiate. That's not. And then even then, Ruben Dias for both sides, he was being ignorant again. And Ruben Dias comes and he just says, asks a question. He gets a yellow card. Where's it? What's this for? Just like yesterday, it's crazy. The officials, oh man. I think it is not the technology, but the officials. I agree with you, Hanno. There was an issue before the technology was brought in. Isn't it so boring that a game with such skill, such ability, and talking points often boil down to the men and women in Stockley Park? It's horrendous. It's disgusting. And Arsenal will play Manchester City on Wednesday, where the whole world will be watching. And they can't wait. The popcorn's going to be out. It's going to be a great spectacle of football with the two teams at the top trying to fight for it. The contenders in Arsenal, who have been the best team in the Premier League so far and one of the best teams in Europe, against the relentless force that Manchester City that do look dented and do look a little bit weaker. But I hope and pray we do not end up talking about the officials at the end of that game. And yes, when it comes to human error, I don't have an issue with that. when I say or inconspicuous or decisions that are quite hard, very subjective, I don't have a problem with that because you can as long as I can see on both sides of the fence and I can look at as the Ethan Pinnock one, for example. If that happened to Arsenal, I'm like, yeah, but he's blocking, he's offside. I hear that, but is he involved? Is he involved in it? Oh, don't know. We got very fortunate as well earlier on in that game where Gabriel going down very soft and then Buemo was going through. I didn't think that was a free kick. Poor refereeing once again. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that was a free kick. And if Brentford, if he doesn't call that, and Brentford go on to score, you bet your bottom dollar he's not going back and overturning that goal. And I don't mind. You see, I don't mind that because you get some. You win some, you lose some. Those are the ones I don't mind. But it's the clear and obvious errors that we're seeing each week in and week out. And this weekend was the worst across the Premier League that I've seen since it's coming. And that's quite big to say because we have seen some shockers throughout this weekend. Lee Mason was also the official in that Newcastle Crystal Palace game where we saw that ridiculous decision with Joe Willett not getting the penalty at the back post. But yeah, it is boring indeed. I'm angered, but I also feel apathy as well. And I feel numb to it. I tweeted out, I wasn't surprised. When I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised. But then watching that Man City game and, realising that 3 points separate us now and it should have been back to 5, really, essentially. And then that's 2 games in the Premier League. If you think of it in the basketball terms or in the Americans' point of view, in the American sports point of view, it's that you think of it in 2 games rather than points on the board because they do wins and losses. And that's essentially what it is. And that's a game now. That's a game because of their goal difference. That decision is literally thrown 1 game. Crazy. I hope if Arsenal lose the league, honestly, it would have to be by 5 or 10 points now for me to not look at the officials. If Arsenal win it, it's an even bigger congratulations. We've had to beat a financially dope juggernaut in Manchester City, allegedly, and the FA, who once again, who were handing out charges left, right, and centre for us surrounding referees, and then it all goes a bit missing for others. But yeah, it happens, ain't it? And then the PGMOL, who deciding that they make 2 errors against Arsenal this season. 2, in that matter of fact. Not 1, twice, Guardiola would say. But yeah, call him out. Yeah. Good evening to yourself as well, Mr. and Mrs. W. Hope you're keeping good. If Mr. W is watching, good evening. I hope you're keeping good, Wesbird. Thank you for tuning in. Luke in here saying, I very rarely comment on refs because I think it mainly distracts from our inability to win the game. Once again, I agree. I'm with you there. Lee Mason is, what you rest people, useless. No question of a doubt. But we did have 90 minutes to win and we failed. But Luke, this is what we have to remember in the Premier League, that last part. I agree. That's what I want. I'd rather be looking at what do we need to do better. That's what I was looking at straight away before this news broke out. But in the Premier League, when you're playing against a very good Brentford side, very good. Yeah, let's not... More than you can believe they are that good. Like 10 games unbeaten. And the teams that they've beaten, 4-0 Manchester United, 3-1 against Liverpool, 2-2 against Spurs, and they should have won that game too. Who else? They went to Chelsea last season, slapped 4 past them. They beat us, of course, last season too. They beat Man City. Yeah, let's not forget. Deservedly so. Should have been more earlier on this season, just before the World Cup. Very good team. Best team since the World Cup, since we've returned. So you're going to have the luck in terms of the right decisions, essentially, in these certain games. So, yes, we're Arsenal. Yes, we're top of the league. But this Premier League, the reason why it's so good and why we love it so much and why so many people tune in on a weekly basis to watch it is because the quality across the whole league. We don't have this monopoly effect as much as La Liga or, Serie A, for example, or Ligue 1. We have such, high class caliber players with great teams that are very settled very well with top. Brentford have a striker that could play in any Premier League side this season, and would fit in like a glove. He could go to Arsenal, he could go to City, he'd be fine, and he'd fit in there. And you've got that throughout the league, even from that lower down in the table. Chelsea were willing to pay 40 million for Romeo Lavia. People are liking the look of him. The Salisus of this world, James Ward-Prowse, and that's Southampton, rock bottom of the Premier League. That's the thing that we have. So that's why you are going to need right decisions. And it's ironic, right, Luke? And it's not even ironic. There's no coincidence in the fact that the games that we have dropped points, we've not had a little bit of luck. And yes, there has been games where we've won and we've had a little bit of that luck on our side where, contentious decisions, subjectivity is involved. You're going to need that to win games. It's crazy. I think that's a factor that we don't really look into as much as football fans, really, is there are things that are out of your hands that you need to, you're going to need to rely on. But this is completely out of our hands in terms of how the referees referee this game. And we shouldn't be having to think about, if the referee gets a right decision, not gets a decision that favors us, but gets a right decision or remembers to draw the lines, Luke, in this incident. But yeah, big up yourself each and every time. Like me, I'm about the most positive gooner you can meet today. But I just want to tip over. Garden Gnomes, I'm so frustrated. Taking several minutes to make the wrong decisions in various games. Exactly. Yo, bro, we've complained about how long it takes. But if you're going to take that long and still get it wrong, it's crazy. It's laughable with such a high-profile sport, the biggest sporting league in the world, and they can't draw a line correctly or can't draw a line at all. Need to take notice of how they do it in rugby and how the interaction between ref and the technology. Ref is on open mic and the players and the fans can hear everything. Indeed, Wes Bird. And linking it back to Arteta, if anyone has read their articles in terms of why Arteta is doing so good right now, and he's taken a lot of inspiration from other sports, from other managers, and other coaches who are the very elite top level of their game. He's got a big group chat. I'm not sure many of you guys know this, but yeah, Mikel Arteta has a big group chat with many coaches from the NHL, in the National Hockey League, over in the US and North America, in the NBA, and the NFL. It's very topical with the Super Bowl tonight, but he takes a lot of their methods and he speaks them on a daily basis. And that's how he's been able to become one of the best managers in the Premier League, and really learn and develop. Referees, though, they don't even want to take knowledge or advice from their own people within their own sport. It's crazy because we don't need these AI officials. We don't need that. We want to do it our way. Let's do it our way. Frank Sinatra. You know what I mean? But no, it's only causing us problems, and it hurts, man. It really does hurt indeed. But yeah, they're so arrogant and ignorant, and just everything. It makes seething. It makes me angry. The VAR effect on this game is taking away the joy of it. It's being way too of it. I can't even get my words out. Sorry. The VAR effect on this game is taking away the joy of it. The way it's being implicated. Yeah, that's it. I agree. Good evening to yourself, Matt, and big up to yourself, Yuvraj people. If you want to join the Discord, the link is in the description down below. Matt G says it's important we don't focus on Lee Mason. If he got sacked tomorrow, the standard of the rest will still be shocking. It's true. And when you know what, when you say Matt G, don't focus on Lee Mason, I think you're right in a way, because I have focused on him. But how you can only criticize one man so much if he's being given a job, if he keeps getting away with it. You know what I'm saying? How if Arteta, let's say, for example, if we were playing a terrible player in our team, let's give an example. If Arsenal still had Yaya Sanogo, no disrespect to him, Arsenal still had Yaya Sanogo up top, and Arteta's playing him in every game, right? There comes a point where we all know that he's not at the level, and he's not at the level to where Arsenal need to be. Stop criticizing Sanogo and start looking at the people who are employing him, who are keep playing him. Start Mustafi. How long were we criticizing Mustafi as Arsenal fans? But maybe you should criticize the people that continue to keep playing him and trusting him and letting him make mistake after mistake. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think you are right in that sense to say that. Apparently, Howard Webb has contacted Arsenal and Brighton and apologised to both clubs and has said mistakes were made. Great, but how does that help us now? Indeed, Wesberg. Indeed, it doesn't help us at all. An apology doesn't help. We want 3 points. Correct, but I still want him sacked. Big up yourself, Joey in the place. Says Big T, love the Jamaican vibes on your shirt, brother. I hope you're keeping good, Joey, man. And big up yourself over at STD Square Table Degenerates right there. Hope you're keeping good. Mr. 200, aka Granddaddy Guna, says, I can't believe the Premier League is not embarrassed about the state of our officials and wonder why they don't do something about it. But this is it. They should be embarrassed, Mr. 200. Like, if they had any respect, or not respect, if they had any self-awareness or any accountability, really, like, this is where, the Premier League, why they've taken action against Manchester City. As soon as there's a possibility of an independent regulator coming from the government, when they have to be accountable for something. Mr. 200, we know over here in the UK and like many across, like many different countries, if the police do something wrong, they have an independent, like regulator, someone that will investigate into wrongdoings of the police. Do you know what I mean? So this is, we need these sort of things in place, because humans, at the end of the day, if we're not challenged, if we don't have pressure applied to us where we think, right, especially at the top level, but in any walk of life, in any job, if you can go into a day-to-day job and feel bulletproof and feel like, yeah, if I make a mistake today, yeah, what, I'm going to get a 2-week suspension or something, where I'm not going to do a game, but I'll be straight back at it anyway, because I'll get a little slap on the wrist in terms of this and keep moving on, and I'll keep being there. Lee Mason, for example. Then the humans, they're going to keep taking liberties, and they're not going to improve, and they're not going to do better. So, for example, kind of like what Matt G's saying here, Lee Mason, if he's incompetent, he shouldn't be refereeing in the Premier League, and there should be more being done to help these referees become more competent. But clearly, we're not seeing that when the same mistakes are being made again and again. And do you know what? I think this raises a good point, because I've got some stuff on my phone right here. That's why I'm looking over here. I've got some, some of Lee Mason's previous events, I will say, and some quotes about him. So in 2016, Arsene Wenger came out and said, it's always the same with him in Lee Mason. Always making mistake after mistake. I already mentioned to you the Newcastle versus Palace game. And then other managers have come out and spoken about Lee Mason. I'll give you the best example for one. Ed and other Wolves fans will be able to say this and agree. Nuno Espirito Santo, after the Wolves-Liverpool game, where there was massive controversy in terms of the decisions there, Lee Mason is not good enough to officiate in the Premier League. And there's been other managers, other cases where that's been said as well, but those are the ones I just wanted to highlight for you there. But he still comes out and he's still in the officiating box and still working on VAR, and There's nothing being done. In any walk of life, any job, I mean, not in any job, but in most jobs, that shouldn't happen. And it's taken away from the product that we have in our Premier League, the thing that we love the most and the thing that we're all so passionate about. Why I'm wearing this Arsenal top, why I'm happy, so gassed to be top of the Premier League, because I know how tough that is and how hard you have to work and push. And I've seen Arsenal periods last season look like we're playing their best football and still not make it into the top four because the competitive level is top. That's why Conte goes to Spurs. That's why Pep's at Man City and he's been there longer than anywhere else. Of course, other things. But Jurgen Klopp, too. Jose Mourinho comes at every opportunity and whenever it strikes. Do you know what I mean? And it's a top league. But the referees taken away from it once again. Let's see what you guys are saying. Shay says, I'm fuming. I hate VAR. Just get rid of VAR. Lee Mason also denied Newcastle a perfectly good goal against Palace. Yep, he's stupid and useless. And you know the rest there, people letting their feelings known. Matt G, feel bad for Trossard. His first Arsenal goal has been overshadowed. Exactly. And what an impact he's made since he's come into the club as well, Matt. I will talk about this and we will get into it at some point, but it's a great point that you made right there. And what a good finish that was. It's difficult, when you look at the proximity, a lot of people are going to say that, yeah, it's an easy goal. But given how that ball was bouncing and how much power it was, and the fact it's on his weaker left foot, it's a better finish than what then most will give it credit for. Especially if we was in that situation, guarantee you we're not scoring that goal. Matt G, I know it sounds mad, but in those situations, I've seen sitters being missed, and it would have been classed as a sitter, although I didn't think it was. Exactly. It's like they have a tenure. Exactly that. It's true. I had made peace with the fact that we didn't play great, but got a draw after hearing about the decision. I was so angry. That's exactly how I felt, and many Arsenal fans felt indeed. Big up each and every one of you that's locked in here as well. We got King in the place from my other co-host from the Arsenal show. We will be doing that tomorrow, and we will be looking ahead to that Manchester City game and how important it is, and the lineups and everything that we'll be talking about, everything that we need to in the preview. So yeah, I'll be joining my brother King, and for that one for sure. I'm still waiting for confirmation on our other co-host Wilf, but of course our brother King will be there. Big up my brother CM in the place. He's got 2 comments in here, I believe, and he's gone, blessings T. Mistakes happen, fair enough, but when they are a high frequency every single week with no valid or fair conclusion to those affected, how can the Premier League continue to dismiss the issues that clearly have been plaguing the progress of VAR ever since its introduction? Forgetting to draw the line is just a straight up unacceptable and embarrassing thing to admit in this elite level of sport, which they make it so hard for other teams and other people to get into because they want to keep the cream rising to the top and let them stay there. Let's make sure we are this elite brand, like you've just said, CM. Absolutely agree. Couldn't have said it any better myself. And you've literally said everything I wanted to say in 2 paragraphs in 2 YouTube comments in this video. But exactly, fine drawing or losing if it's fair, but Lee made sure it wasn't. Guys, we got over the facts of losing to Everton last week, and Everton got the result that they deserved, and we had a decision right there which I thought it was a penalty, but we didn't get it. You move on and you go, but there's enough is enough. Time, you have to talk about it eventually, and this is where the bottle, that they shook that bottle, and that fizz is finally blown. I can't even get my words out, guys. I'm sorry. If we are totally honest, Brentford were very good, but regardless of what they deserved out of the game, a horrendous VAR decision has cost us all 3 points. So true. Can't disagree with that either. Guys, there's a lot of the things in the chat. I'm not disagreeing with anything in here right now. Big up my brother Brosh. He says, listen to my brother right there. Like, share, and sub. Man United fan. He'll be very happy right now after picking up that win today. you take it, you move. Premier League games are difficult away from home against anyone. So, but winning those games and getting all the 3 points is the most important thing. Hey, as an Arsenal fan who went out to Leeds and went over there, well, I didn't go over there, but my team went over there and went under the caution. We were quite fortunate to go away with a 1-0 win, but we got it. And yeah, so I understand the importance of it, man. If we didn't get that, we'd be second right now. But if we also got other decisions correctly, we might be further ahead. But hey, it is what it is. Chelsea game, they got it wrong. Palace game, they got it wrong twice. Arsenal game, they got it wrong. The PL refs are useless. Don't forget the Leicester game. Well, they also got it wrong, but it didn't affect the result, thankfully. Wolves game, which is another horrendous bit of refereeing right there, and no understanding at all. And yeah, another thing where the arrogant king, he seem to listen to players at all, really, or the people that have played the game in certain decisions. Offside, like listen, yeah, I think the offside rule needs to be changed anyway. That Norgard thing is, when we talk about consistency, how many times have we seen minimal, like things that barely look offside, but to a certain angle they do, get overruled and chalked out, and for stupid reasons. I don't think what Norgard is doing there is essentially of what the offside rule is. He's offside, but no, I mean the reason why offside rule was brought in. Sorry, is offside, but because of the letter of the law and to how it's being enforced, how he's offside. Do you know what I mean? So there's no common sense, though. Why don't they use common sense into these things? But common sense, as my mama taught me, isn't so common. But yeah, big up each and every one of you in the place. And I can see all the happy birthdays for my brother Ed right there. And yeah, really appreciate you guys, man. You guys are the best. Just getting through some more of these comments here. VAR in principle is fine, although needs some improvements. But it's the incompetence of the personnel in charge of making the decisions. And that's it. And we've kind of got our frustrations out in terms of it all and how we're feeling. These are things that I want to hear. It's the solutions to it. The VAR in principle is fine, although there's some improvements that need to be made. You know, the timekeeping of it all, and how long it takes to review certain decisions, and how it's going to be introduced into games, and not introduced, involved. It shouldn't be micromanaging every single incident. See the principle of what Harold Webb has done in saying, let's not use VAR too much to re-referee games. He's correct. But then, if you're missing complete obvious decisions out there, like the West Ham game where Souček's made a fantastic save, but because the referee saw it and he didn't give it, and it doesn't mean that it's not the right decision. Do you know what I mean, guys? So, yeah, that needs a lot of work, but that's it. The personnel, rip it out, man. Get them gone. There might be some good people that you want to keep in there. Like, you know, when Arteta first came through the door, look how much change has been in that squad now. You're not going to make real change unless you get the personnel gone. And I'm sorry, I don't like calling people out for their jobs. I don't like it, but essentially we do it with our managers, our staff, our players. So why can't we have a look at the people who are in charge of making these? Their job is supposed to make sure that the laws are being kept and abided by, but also to improve the product of the game as well. That's what a referee's job is, to officiate it and to make sure that these rules are being upheld, so we get a good, fair, and even better game. That's why the rules are there. They didn't bring the offside rule to, you know, to harm it. They tried to improve it and make it a bit more, you know, a close affair and more entertaining to watch. That's why these rules are brought in. It's sport. That's why we're supposed to be seeing it. But if you're taken away from the spectacle by these personnel who used to employ Mike Dean, and I'm sure would still have him at some capacity if he wanted to, and still employ Lee Mason, as you can see on the thumb. Why don't they just hire some tech wizards to be in the VAR room? Why do there have to be useless old men who can't draw a line? Do you know what? Great example right there. Because, Luke, what you're doing, you're bringing in people who refereed and who grew up and got into the sport by not using that technology at all to then adapt and use that technology and be the best at it. I'm sorry. You don't bring in Mesut Ozil to play centre defensive mid, do you? Because because he was great at 10 a few years ago when the game's different, the game's moved on. You don't bring in, do you know what I'm saying? It's stupid. It's like how when you see managers get brought in because they were decent players, like not because of really their coaching ability or what they've proven throughout the game. This is what I'm saying. You need to get the tech. What a Premier. It's the Premier League, for goodness sakes. They want to make the elite. Then make sure you get the best officials and the best people who are best hired for the job. Let the players develop. Let the managers do that, not the officials. About development there. That's what the whole football pyramid's about. Sorry, people. This is the first time I've been this angry for a while, but I really appreciate you guys and sharing it all. I'm trying to laugh it off now. I'm trying to move on, but yeah, it's just really frustrating. The World Cup seemed really good, to be fair. Spot Peony, there was contentious decisions there. I remember in the final where we had the Dembele and Di Maria incident, but once again, 50-50. We've seen that there. We've seen mistakes. You get over it. Argentina, Poland, where Szczęsny catches Messi. That's not a penalty to me, but you get over it. You do, honestly. Like, those are subjective. Those are decisions based off of subjectivity. You can move on, but certain ones, but these ones, and the ones that we see on a weekly basis, the incorrect ones, it's a joke. I won't forget Liverpool versus Wolves in the FA Cup. What was that? Two horrendous decisions again. The Man United one where Rashford's common sense, people. You can't use it. You can't use VAR to use common sense. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy. I'm gassed, Man United won that one now. I am. Because look, Man City would be, if they won that game, they'd be first right now. But man, it's just a joke. Big up yourself, Shay, man. Thank you for that. Appreciate that one there. Let's smash the like button. Hey, have we ever had a video go to 100? I don't think so. Not yet, people. Yes, I said, why aren't we using AI offside tech to moss during our NHL watch along last night? You know why. You know why, though. As I've said earlier on, it's these people. No, we don't need that. We don't move on. You don't need that. Clearly, they do. They need every bit of help that they need. Doesn't anyone get the feeling that Mr. T is slightly stressed by yesterday's officiating? Indeed. We've got plenty of comments. I'm going to go from bottom towards top now because I want to make sure I get every one of them. Each and everything. Big up yourself. But I think you're back in 2016 with that one there. I'm loving this angry version of Tariq. I'm not. Thank you, shake it all about. Passion is good, Mr. T. I feel passionate about the Arsenal and about the beautiful game that we have, but I've not been this incensed by it for a while, and it's not just about us. It really isn't. As I said, the other incident, that how they drew the lines in the Leicester game, they've not spoke about that one, but they've drawn that one horrendously wrong. The Palace Brighton one, boy oh boy, ruling out. That's not why VAR was brought in, to rule out obvious goals because of human error and because people can't draw lines correctly or draw them at all. Listen, there you go right there. Phase 1, phase 2. Offside is offside. FACT. Fact. Simples. Let's go back to that. It's true. Having a big toe offside is not giving any form of... it's so true, Mr. 200. It's not giving any form of advantage at all to the attacking team. For me, there should be daylight between the defender and the attacking player before it's offside. Exactly. And you know what? It would be better to do offsides Yeah, in terms of those things, in terms of let them lean offside even. Yeah, having their head or their shoulder offside and that. I don't. That's not what it should be. Even if they want to lean, like defend, I wouldn't mind if they change that. If when you see the offsides, like where the offside lines here and the defender's leaning, and the defenders like lean into one. I can't even do it here, but yeah, the defenders like lean into one side and think, oh, because my nose and my chin is past my arm, I'm offside. Like even that, I don't mind. I don't mind if because that's not what the offside rule was there and brought in for. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's true. They got my brother Jake in here as well. Would it not be easier to take VAR out completely? No, because what we have to remember is Jake, and there's a lot of people calling for that. So you're not alone in that thought and opinion. But I remember the game that we had before VAR, and then the wrong decisions that we saw there on a weekly basis. And I don't think there's any more or there's any less wrong now. Before or after VAR has been introduced, we just have the problem is we've not seen an improvement at all. And we've not the whole reason it was meant to be brought in was to make them less grey area because there's always going to be grey area in football, whether you had robots do it or anything, because not every incident is the same. So when we ask for consistency, we just want to see consistency in how it's being applied, not in every scenario, because each scenario is different. We saw the Manchester City penalty today where Jack Grealish is caught by Jacob Ramsey. Jacob Ramsey, there's Grealish knows what he's doing. It's clever. We give that, we move on. That shouldn't be let's be honest, in terms of why a penalty is brought in, that shouldn't be a penalty because the attacker's gained an advantage there by leaving his leg. If a defender goes out there and leaves his leg, most of the time it's not given because they're like, oh, the attacker's not made a tackle towards the ball or etc. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of them ones. I don't think that taking it out would make it better, unfortunately, for the product that we have because the referees are so bad, which is why when we win it, regardless, it's going to feel even better. Hopefully so. I really do. But before we get, you know what? We just need to speak about this Arsenal game and just talk about the other games ever so quickly as well. Brentford, once again, I've given them their praise and credit. They were good. They were solid. They were well organised. They caused us a threat. Tony was a beast. It was hard to... Saliba, I don't think had a great game against him. Saliba will definitely learn from this. A young defender, although I've seen people on social media going absolutely crazy at Saliba as well and saying he should be taken out of the team and whatnot. And he's been awful in this. Brother's a 21-year-old centre-back, guys. This is why so many of us, and why me in particular, was praising him so highly, because the level that he put in and the consistency prior to the World Cup for a young 21-year-old centre-back, I ain't seen that. I haven't seen that ever in the Premier League at that level, or at the top level, really, of sport, unless we talk about the greats at that young age, especially at the back, because that's a position which requires a lot of knowledge and experience. Experience, I think, is an overrated factor in football. I do think that, but in certain areas and certain positions, you need experience, and defense is one of them, because we're dealing with different strikers, different threats. Tony was a hard, there's not many that can deal with Tony on the best of days. We saw it earlier in the season, Brentford against Man United. We've seen it against Manchester City as well, against Premier League title winners. So Ivan Toney is a real handful, and he would definitely learn from that. And I'm confident that he will, and he'll develop William Saliba. But there were some really good performers, I thought, as well in an Arsenal shirt. I thought Odegaard, he was on fire from the start. He was one of my biggest, I think he was our best attacker, really, throughout the first half in particular. Saka grew into it in the second. He improved a lot in that second half, and what a cross that was for the goal, the way he shifts it from left to right. I can't believe people still doubt this man. Really, he's such a good player. And then Partey, I thought he was at a good level. And Gabriel, I thought he was strong in what he was doing, and his passing just keeps on increasing. But there were some other performers who I weren't too impressed with. And And when I say weren't too impressed with them, it's not that they were awful. Once again, I thought Arsenal played at a high level, and that's something that I've been really impressed with this season. Apart from when we played Everton, essentially, that's the only time that I don't think the whole team really performed well. Zinchenko was sloppy in terms of his passing in certain occasions. He wasn't that fit or sharp or firing best that we seen him in the likes of the Newcastle game where we drew 1-0, Manchester United game where I thought it was essential in our comeback win there. I think that it's not a coincidence that our left side has been lacking since Jesus' injury. Xhaka, Zinchenko wasn't at his best, but Xhaka was made a bit more redundant. And Martinelli hasn't been back to his best either. I think this left-hand side, we're missing that connect between the front man and then Xhaka has done a tremendous job in the first part of the season playing in that left 8 role, which has required him to be a lot more advanced and a lot more in attacking areas and in making a difference in the final third. But since the loss of Jesus, there hasn't been that fluidity. I don't think Xhaka has gone into the final third as much, and we needed him in that area and for him to be at his best in those areas because defensively, Brentford was set up with 2 deep blocks. They were, not really that deep actually. They were compact blocks. So the back 5 that Brentford were defending with, and then the 3 in the middle, so making it a 4 sometimes with Mbeumo dropping in. I thought it was very hard to break them down, and they really negated Arsenal's threat in the half spaces, which is where we've caused so much trouble. They allowed the likes of Zinchenko and White to have possession of the ball, and that's why Zinchenko has been a really good player and why he has been so important into our title charge this season, into why we are top of the league. But that's where we need that striker in Gabriel Jesus, who is a lot more of a connector, someone who works well in tight spaces. We saw it with his very first run against Crystal Palace, by the way. Eddie Nketiah doesn't do that, and it's no disrespect to Eddie, and it's not taking away anything from what he's done. I think he's been brilliant. I think he's been fantastic stepping in for Gabriel Jesus. But the type of forward that we need in this game isn't an Eddie Nketiah. There's no surprise that Haaland didn't perform so well against Brentford, where it was hard and there wasn't much space in between the lines for him to play with and around, and there wasn't much space in the box for Haaland to find and really trouble with his movement and his speed and even his frame. Eddie Nketiah, he's not the same as Haaland, but he's much closer to Haaland than he is to a Gabriel Jesus. He's a very unique false number 9 who's very good at the hold-up play, but can go out wide and used to be a winger, of course. And he even said it himself that he was a winger when he was at Manchester City. So you can see that, and that's why he's so good. So I just think that we're missing that profile of striker right now up top. I do think that in these types of games where we are coming up against a low block, we do need a Gabriel Jesus right there. Eddie Nketiah against Man City, though, boy, I ain't worried, baby. I ain't worried. I think when you give Eddie space, he'll cause you trouble. He will. Ask Man United, ask West Ham. He'll cause you trouble when you give that boy space, and he'll find it in those dangerous areas. But against that low block, you kind of need a bit of that ingenuity, that creativity from your central man, which I think we lacked on that left side in particular yesterday. Right side, Odegaard and Saka were really good. But yeah, though that's probably my quick overall of that game. Let me see what you guys and girls are saying in the chat. We got big up yourself, John Conway. I hope you're keeping well. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're all good, my friend. Let's see. Wes Bird says, do you think that Dermot Gallagher will be looking forward to appearing on Ref Watch and Tom on Sky Sports News? Or will he have been on the phone to Lee Mason and saying thank you so much? Hey, Dermot, but this is it. You know, Peter Walton and Dermot Gallagher, when they do their duty on Sky's Ref Watch and Peter Walton on BT, if that doesn't tell you enough about the ingrained incompetency throughout the whole officiate PGMOL and how it's jobs for the boys and backing him because it's your boy and that. They don't even call out each other. Do you know what I'm saying? It's completely different to how when we watch it, in how we watch our sport. We have pundits, former players calling out managers left, right, and centre. Probably too much. Do you know what I mean? Paul Merson, for goodness sakes. Pini, Saliba, and Martinelli both suffering since the World Cup, but they will come back strong sooner rather than later. I think they will. It's just a period that young players have, Pini, that they need to work through. I still think that they're performing at a high level. Don't get me wrong, it's still high. The level is still very high indeed. We were top of the league, and if they weren't performing at a high level, we wouldn't be there for sure, because in this Premier League, you can't carry any passengers. But to their best, I don't think they have been, but I'm sure they will get there. And that's what I'm hoping for as well, especially with the return of a certain Gabriel Jesus, and maybe even Emile Smith-Rowe will have a big part to play before it's all said and done. I won't be watching Gallagher defend Lee Mason, or I end up smashing my TV, Westbird, indeed, especially if it's after a late night watching the Super Bowl as well, my brother. Westbird says, Brentford were excellent, but didn't take their chances. And I think we were steady ourselves and deserved to go in front on the second half performance, and thought we had got away with it. But we know what happens. I agree. I think Westbird's hit the nail on the head with that statement right there. Brentford were brilliant in the first half in particular, defended well in the second when they needed to, and they looked a dangerous threat in the first, and at certain points in the second half in the counter-attack. But Arsenal in the second half, I thought we were much, much stronger. We came out with much more intense, and we was in their final third a lot more. Just lacked a little bit of that spark in there, and that's where, that's kind of where Pini says about this Eddie argument confuses me. 2 games he's not scored, and suddenly the narrative again, the poor fella can't catch a break. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and do you know what? It's not even about the games that he's not scoring in, like, because Eddie, why he's really impressed me is more than the goals he scored, Pini. His performances in terms of linking up the play well in and around the box has been that real massive improvement of his game. Eddie will always score goals. If you played Eddie throughout 38 games in this Arsenal team, he may even score more goals than Gabriel Jesus. But with Gabriel Jesus, I think you score more goals as a team, a la the Nottingham Forest game when we beat them 5-0. Even Reece Nelson was able to go and grab a couple thanks to Jesus with his assists. I just think that it's just a profile of player that we have. I think we still need an Eddie, because you can play an Eddie and a Gabriel Jesus together. I think, the Fulham game, they were beautiful. They were fantastic. When Eddie came on, he was wonderful. When we beat Fulham 2-1, he came on, was 1-0 down, and he was brilliant, man. And he didn't score. That's the good thing. That's why the narrative on Eddie, PD, we've been Arsenal fans for many a year now. It happens with certain players. I don't like it, but it does. It happens with certain characters and certain people within the team, unfortunately. Built Moss in the place as well. Good performance. Jonathan David, 2 goals. Balogun got 1, his 15th for the season. Battle for the next Arsenal striker, both ahead of Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi. Lyon versus Lens later too. So and Laka there is playing in that one. But Balogun, he's going to give us a different threat as well. And he's a different profile to an Eddie Nketiah. And I wouldn't say he's like a Gabriel Jesus either. He's a little bit of an in-between of Gabriel Jesus and Eddie Nketiah. He's a striker that can find space in the box and can score goals, and a very good finisher. And he can go drift out wide, especially to that left-hand side. Do you remember when we played Sunderland in the Carabao Cup last season? Where was Balogun playing, guys? He's playing on that left wing. Arteta does that with the strikers a lot, because he tries to develop them and tries to develop them in and around and outside of the box to work on their game. He did it with Eddie earlier on in the season too, where he played him on that left wing in the Europa League. He knows what he's doing, man. And that's where we have, and hopefully we can see Balogun come into the side next season and take over. Not take over, but compete with Eddie and Jesus. Good afternoon, Amy. Hope you're keeping good. Says, too bad, just got back from work and no EPL match on 3 p.m. East Coast. I know, Amy, no EPL match. But you will have an EPL match at this time on Wednesday, the big one. I won't be doing a watch long for it, people, but I certainly will be doing a match reaction for sure, straight after the game. So yeah, make sure you do tune in for that one afterwards, people. Even if you're a non-Arsenal fan, I'm sure you'll be finding it interesting to see if my reaction to it. If it's any angry any bit as anger as I've got now, the disappointment or the elation, and we'll see, of course. But yeah, just a little word on that. If Arsenal win the game, it doesn't mean we're winning the league. I'm going to say that now. If Arsenal lose the game, doesn't mean we're not winning the league either. Just sorry to put a dampener on it. I know it feels like this make or break, but this Premier League season is long, baby. I've watched too much football now. And I've not even watched as much football as a lot of you guys, but I've watched too much football now to think that's it. You know what I'm saying? This Premier League's crazy. But big up yourself right there, Amy. Vibes in the place. PSA, everyone's invited to the relegation party. Hope you're keeping good vibes. I know you're a man that was happy with that result today. No matter how it comes, no matter what circumstances, a win is a win. And then against them lot, for you, it's beautiful. I saw what the United fans were chanting. I heard what they were chanting at the end of the game. Leeds fell back on there. You know what, people. Would you have brought in another striker on loan in January window? Someone along the lines of Giroud, who would have been invaluable now in these types of games like yesterday. Wes Bird, I actually would have. The attention from the attacker, from that striker, kind of faded away once João Felix went to Chelsea. I wanted João Felix in at Arsenal because I felt we needed someone different in that area of the pitch if it just wasn't quite working with Eddie in certain games. That's what I wanted, and that's why I was really an advocate of João Felix. But it kind of faded away after that because we all went for Mudryk, and then of course that changed, and then went out, and then he got injured. The whole focus shifted to midfield. Brilliant point right there. I would have wanted a striker, and not necessarily a Giroud type. I know João Felix is definitely not a Giroud type, but someone that can give you something different and still add to the overall play. That's why a Giroud, he's quite a unique striker in that position because he brings a lot in and around the box too. When we are sitting back camped in there, he would have been, a prime Giroud would have been perfect. Big up yourself, my brother. Vibes each and every time. Love to you, my man. We're winning the league. Hashtag sue me. Hopefully, man. I hope you're right. Beat the frauds Wednesday. Always coming down to that anyways. I think, man. I think it was going to come down to that even if we won today for a lot of fans. But, yesterday. But you know what? I want to see the game at the Etihad. That's what's going to tell me more. Not because we're going away from home, but because of the point it is in the season. It's in April. That's where everything will take its shape. They got my brother Eddie in the place. He's always a man. He's my brother. But me and him, we go back to back, man. We go back. We always go to each other. The Man United fan, of course, says, big up T. He's scared of the City resurgence. They're coming for that Arsenal. I know. Big up yourself. And this is big up to all of you in the chat. I'm not, man. I'm really not scared. I'll talk about it more in tomorrow for you guys. And for those who want to tune into the Arsenal show as we do a preview for that. But on Eddie's question here, nah, man. Did you watch the second half, Eddie? The first half, they were good, but I thought Villa were poor overall. Didn't manage City in the right spaces. KDB was brilliant. Haaland pounced on their mistakes, but all three of their goals, could easily say Villa should do better. Set piece, he's defending Rodri's header. Free header, by the way. Good movement, but free header. Shouldn't allow that, especially with the first corner of the game. The second goal, shocking defending from Callum Chambers. We already seen that at the Etihad last season, once upon a time. And then the third goal was a penalty, which Jacob Ramsey, naive defending, especially around Grealish, he's always going to go down. So, and in the second half, I thought Villa could have scored at least two goals. Smashed the bar with that Duran shot as well, but Coutinho made a real difference. I just thought Villa, once they got into the game, they looked much better. Sancho needs to be on the pitch for Man United. I thought, Weird, really, because I thought Sancho was quite good today when I watched him, but I don't think he was the issue. The issue was in midfield for Man United. They didn't have anyone that could really break through the lines and break through leads as much. I think it's just more personnel needed for United. They're missing Eriksen. I thought Eriksen was the big miss today, not even a Casemiro. In that sense, I do think they are starting to miss Eriksen now. When they are coming up against these teams that are set up well, why Erik ten Hag's trusted Eriksen and overplayed him to a certain extent because he doesn't have anyone that can just break through the line with one pass. How many times has Eriksen done it to us? He did it. He did it in the first game, the first time we played them, and I thought he was the best player on the pitch. Jorginho needs to start for Arsenal. Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know about that though, Amy, because I thought Partey was really good yesterday, and he was covering ground well, dealing with the physical battle that Brentford do give you. But Jorginho, I'm not sure. Not whilst we got a fit and firing Partey, Amy. I don't think we need to start Jorginho just yet. Question T: does Arteta change anything for the City game? Maybe even a counter-attack like Spurs, or to try and change it up. You guys are in a blip now. Ooh, do you know what? Another great one. You're taking all my content for tomorrow, Eddie. It's a good question, though. In terms of the approach, and then I'll save a little bit of that for the content tomorrow. Does it need to change anything in the starting lineup? I don't think we need to change anything at all in the approach, my brother. City are come into the Emirates and they're gonna come and have to play us at our game. Remember, you guys are a very good team, Man United, and you don't let many teams get the ball off you and boss it around and dominate possession. Arsenal, we're better. We are a better team than City at this moment in time. At this very, very moment in time, I'm not too sure, but once again, I think we'll get over it. That City game will handle itself. I am extremely confident, Eddie. You might be coming back saying, "Oh boy, I was right. Maybe you should have changed it up. Maybe you should have sat back." But nah, I really do have faith in this team. I think the style, we talk about in boxing and combat sports, styles make fights. I think we struggle against low blocks a little bit more with our current team, but against this City team on the counter attack, I mean, we'll transition on them a lot anyway, but I don't think it'll be a counter attack. I just don't think City will be able to handle us in certain areas. I really don't. I'm that confident. Personally, I think we're at the beginning of our end of our title challenge. We've been worked out, and I just hope we don't end up blowing top 4 as well. Luke, I don't think that, man. Do you know what? The reason I'm going to tell you why you think that, Luke, yeah, because you're an Arsenal fan. And if you wasn't an Arsenal fan and you're looking at Arsenal right now, you'd be hoping and you'd be saying because it's Arsenal. But if you let's say right, this is Manchester City, who are top and we're second, and we're playing like our City are, and City are playing like how they're just drawn and lost. Manchester City couldn't beat Southampton last season in the Premier League, 0-0 and 1-1 in both games. Manchester City couldn't beat Crystal Palace last season, lost 2-0 and drew 0-0. And those are two games where Manchester City should be going out winning at least one of those, at least once against those teams. But they went through a period where it's difficult. Every single title winner goes through it every season. Liverpool lost 3-0 to Watford the last time they won the league. And Man City have certainly been through this and they come out of it. It's all about how this Man City game will be perfect. It will be perfect. Yeah, that wasn't a good roll of the tongue right there. But the players will be motivated. It's a different test that we're going to have. It's going to be a different type of game, which I think suits and plays into our hands. Luke, I promise you, man, you'd feel different if it wasn't Arsenal. You will, but of course, Wednesday will be a big turning point. I can think in a lot of other fans and how they view Man City, not just Arsenal, in how they view Man City as well. I don't really think they're that great, man. I really don't. Eddie, I watched the first half. City had more energy and overloads, but yeah, Villa rolled over. I missed the second half. Eddie, that second half, I almost missed it, but I thought, I'm going to watch it. Yeah, and it gave me hope again. It really did. I don't think City were that good in the second half. Prediction. What did I say? Did I say 0-0? I think I said 0-0 for that one there. Are you still thinking Nketiah can hold the weight in the number 14? Would you put Jesus straight back into the lineup straight away when he's back? He's holding the weight in the number 14 already. But even the 14, when people link it, they talk about Thierry Henry. But Theo Walcott wore that shirt. And Eddie Nketiah is a better footballer overall than Theo Walcott, in my opinion. So yeah, I think he'll be fine. If Arsenal win the Premier League, that he can wear it. He'll be fine, man. He'll be the first number 14 to win the Premier League since Thierry Henry. So I'll take that. But I think he'll be all right. He's just in the low block teams, bro. Eddie, that's where I'm worrying about Eddie. It's them low block teams and see what he can do there. I'd swap Trossard for Martin Smelly. Yeah, we'll get into that tomorrow, people. But big up my G Staffy, who says hello. And big up yourself, G Staffy. I am going to wrap this up now, guys, because we are going to do a big preview tomorrow. Arsenal versus Manchester City, where we'll answer a lot more of Eddie's similar questions in here, and where Peeny's spoken about swapping Trossard in for Martinelli, and we'll talk about it a lot more, and a lot more focus, and a lot more detail, and a lot more scrutiny as well. So people really do appreciate you tuning in. Smash that like button if you haven't done so already. But the best thing that I could recommend for you guys to do in terms of supporting the channel with the algorithm is drop a comment in the comment section afterwards. And that's not just for me as well. It's for other people on their channels too, because we've got plenty of people who've got channels here. Luke, who's a co-host and a partner of Across the Pond Sports Talk. We've got Eddie's Football Waffle with his channel right there. Go drop a sub there. Also, we've got plenty of other people. CM22 in the place. Best way you can show these guys and us all support is dropping comments at the end of them. People, honestly, it helps in terms of the algorithm. The likes, they're a myth right now. They are a myth. I'm going to tell you that. It's true. So, guys, drop, even if it's just a thumbs up, anything that you can do, drop a comment right there. Even if you just see, thumb up, whatever, it really does show a good, it helps in terms of the algorithm pushing the videos out there. But, guys, I'm going to love and leave you all. Big up to yourself, Wesford in the place, Matt G, Amy, and everyone, Peony, and Eddie, and everyone else. And everyone else is ending in N or Y, it seems like. Or the E sound, Matt G, Matt, Eddie, Peony, C-E-M-T, E-N-T, there you go. Take care, my people. God bless, and we'll catch you soon. We'll catch you tomorrow. Come on, the Arsenal.